Pharrell can try to pretend as if he doesn't like dabbling in politics, but I do vividly remember seeing him on stage right next to JD Vance earlier this year in February at the AI Action Summit discussing how AI will help create more jobs. And I also remember him performing at a fundraiser event for IDF soldiers, which helped raise $60 million. So I just feel like if you're going to be politically affiliated, just own it. Don't be a coward about it and pretend as if you don't like to dabble in it when you're clearly associated with politicians and you've clearly picked a side and you don't care about the working class. I mean, that's been obvious for years now, but yeah, you don't care. So just own it.
Pharrell Williams is widely known for his creativity, musical innovation, and consistently positive public persona. For decades, he has occupied a unique cultural space, being revered not only for his musical contributions and fashion influence, but also for the calm and forward-thinking energy he brings to interviews and collaborations. However, throughout his career, several moments have prompted public scrutiny. These moments, when examined together, reveal a recurring disconnect between Pharrell's good vibes philosophy and the complex realities of the social issues he often comments on. So today, I wanted to take some time to walk through Pharrell's most discussed controversies, culminating in his most recent comments on politics, DEI, and meritocracy. In the early 2000s, the Neptunes, which includes Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo, were among the most sought-after producers in music. Their sound dominated radio and their influence was undeniable. However, as time passed, several artists came forward with concerns about their experiences during that era. Singer Khalees alleged that she was blatantly lied to and tricked out of her publishing and profits on her early albums, stating that, "I was told we would split everything 33%, and I got nothing." Her frustration with Pharrell spilled over in 2023 upon the release of Beyoncé's Renaissance album, in which she accused Beyoncé and Pharrell of sampling her song Milkshake without Khalees' permission.
Here's the issue, okay? This is really not about Beyonce or anything else for that. The reality is, okay, and I said what I said, so still all facts, okay? But the reality is that this is more about the fact that, like, there's a lot of hypocrisy and there's a lot of nonsense. So we've got Pharrell, who did an interview, I think last year, talking about artists' rights and how people should be able to rework their deals and artists should be getting credit for what they've done and all this stuff. Where in reality, when I was signed to him, I had the same manager that he had, and he has writing credits on my records, okay? All my singles, coincidentally. And he never wrote a song, a lyric a day in his life, okay? And so, yeah, that's a problem.
Another instance occurred in 2023 when Teyana Taylor similarly stated that after she signed with Pharrell at the beginning of her career, she looked at the older figures in her life as protectors, who ultimately failed her. Teyana said, "Getting signed to a man, it was like a figure to me. I looked at these people like figures. Whether it was as a dad, as a brother, it didn't matter. So it's like, you didn't see me, you didn't hear me, you didn't protect me. You kind of just like fed me to the wolves type-ish without probably even knowing. Some of these conversations still need to be had." These two accounts have been explored in depth by other creators, including the incredible Black Femininity TV, but while I won't dive deeply into those cases, they help establish an early pattern of artists, particularly Black women, describing feeling unsupported or unprotected, while Pharrell himself remained largely silent on those issues. In 2013, Pharrell co-wrote and produced the song Blurred Lines, a global hit that quickly became the focus of widespread criticism. The song's lyrics, especially the repeated line, "I know you want it," were criticized for implying a blurred distinction around consent. The unrated music video, featuring nude models alongside fully clothed male artists, intensified the discussion. For several years, Pharrell defended the song where notably in 2013 he said, "When you pull back and look at the entire song, the point is she's a good girl and even good girls want to do things, and that's where you have the blurred lines. She expresses it in dancing because she's a good girl. People who are agitated just want to be mad, and I accept their opinion." But a few years later, in a 2019 interview post the widespread Me Too movement, Pharrell reflected on the criticism in which he said,
"I think Blurred Lines opened me up. I didn't get it at first, because there were older white women who, when that song came on, they would behave in some of the most surprising ways ever. And I would be like, wow, they would have me blushing. So when there started to be an issue with it, lyrically, I was like, what are you talking about? There are women who really like the song and connect to the energy that just gets you up. And I know you want it. Women sing those kinds of lyrics all the time. So it's like, what's about that?" And then I realized that there are men who use that same language when taking advantage of a woman, and it doesn't matter that it's not my behavior or the way I think about things. It just matters how it affects women, and I was like, got it, I get it, cool. My mind opened up to what was actually being said in the song and how it can make someone feel. Even though it wasn't the majority, it didn't matter. I cared what they were feeling too. I realized that we live in a chauvinist culture in our country. Hadn't realized that. Didn't realize that some of my songs cater to that. So that blew my mind.
Obviously, the lawsuit with the Marvin Gaye estate is a whole story of its own, but with his belated epiphany, It indicates how Pharrell tends to respond with greater clarity only in hindsight, sometimes long after the culture discussion has moved on. Moving on, Pharrell's 2014 album, Girl, sparked another debate, this time regarding colorism. Viewers pointed out that women featured on the album cover appeared racially ambiguous or light-skinned. Pharrell strongly defended the imagery by saying,
What really disappointed me is they jumped the gun because the one I'm staying closest to is black. She's a black girl from Wisconsin that I used to date over 10 years ago, or maybe like 12 years ago. That just must suck, man, for people to look at something and to assume they know what's going on. If they just bothered to listen to my album, they would know that my album was an ode to women, period. And the one thing that I'm trying to kill, well, I can't kill anything, but the one thing I was just trying to help and aid in changing the crazy statuesque standard that you gotta be white, waif, and thin for you to be beautiful. My next record is called Marilyn Monroe, and the chorus is not even Marilyn Monroe who Cleopatra please, not even Joan of Arc. That don't mean nothing to me, I just want a different girl. So that means no matter what color you are, what size you are, what you're into, your sexual orientation, I respect you as a woman because I know without you, none of us would be here. But unfortunately, they looked at the cover and they didn't see what they felt like. I don't know what the definition is. That she's a light-skinned black woman, but I mean, what is the conversation? So is our president not black? Is Lenny Kravitz not one of our greatest? What are we talking about? Is Lisa Bonet in or out? I'm not mad because I understand. I understand that plight. My dad is a dark-skinned man. I understand that. I know what that is all day long. Have I lived it specifically? Yeah, I'm a black man. They just reported I was the first black person to go #1 on pop radio since Rihanna. But then you're gonna shoot at me? What do you mean? I'm gonna turn 41 in April. Of course I'm doing this for us. What are you talking about, man? I'm standing by a black woman. My business is run by a black woman. My mom partially looks after my business and she's a black woman. I'm married to a black woman. I'm confused. I guess once you get the album and you look inside and see she's a black woman, I'm sorry that from that vantage point you can't look at her hair and tell she's black.
Critics argue that Pharrell's response was reductive because he used hair texture to prove a woman's blackness, which sidestepped the deeper structural issues at the center of colorism. People also noted that his comments echoed a broader trend in the early 2000s media, where lighter skinned or racially ambiguous women were routinely prioritized in visual representation. Because Pharrell did not revise or expand on his remarks after the backlash, many felt the concerns were dismissed rather than meaningfully engaged with. One of Pharrell's most scrutinized public moments came during a 2014 conversation with Oprah, where he introduced the concept of the new black. For whatever reason, this clip from the interview is now lost media and has been scrubbed from the internet, but in the interview, Pharrell noted, "The new black doesn't blame other races for our issues. The new black dreams and realizes that it's not a pigmentation, it's a mentality. And it's either going to work for you or it's going to work against you. And you've got to pick the side you're going to be on." In which he also referenced figures such as Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, LeBron James, and himself as examples. Pharrell went on to further explain his comments in a separate interview shortly thereafter.
The only thing I can tell you is, my experience in being black is that, I love what I do, I love who I am, and I make no excuses for what I look like and what that means to me. But I use my mind for my opportunities. I'm not looking for anyone's help because of my skin color. I don't see, my skin color as some affliction or something that holds me back in the world. I am proud of my skin color, and at the end of the day, anything that I do, I celebrate who I am and I celebrate what my mom and dad made, and that is a new way of looking at my life. But can I speak for the whole entire culture? No.
The backlash and the jokes was immediate. Many people describe Pharrell's new black comments as a textbook example of respectability politics, suggesting that personal behavior and attitude, rather than systemic forces, determine black people's outcomes. People argue that his statement implied racism could be overcome through mindset alone, which minimizes the very real institutional structures that shape black life in the United States. By framing racial progress as a matter of individual choice, his remarks shifted responsibility away from the systems that produce inequity and placed it instead on the people experiencing its effects. Later that same year, Pharrell commented on the unjust fatal shooting of Michael Brown by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. In an Ebony magazine interview, Pharrell was asked about his thoughts on the state of America amidst the protest that was taking place at the time. He said, "I don't talk about race since it takes a very open mind to hear my view, because my view is the sky view, but I'm very troubled by what happened in Ferguson, Missouri." When asked more specifically if he saw the video allegedly showing Michael Brown stealing from a convenience store minutes before his death, Pharrell said,
"It looked very bullyish. That in itself I had a problem with. Not with the kid, but with whatever happened in his life for him to arrive at a place where that behavior is okay. Why aren't we talking about that?" When the interviewer said, you could almost hear the gnashing of Bill Cosby's teeth, Pharrell said, and I agree with him, when Cosby said it back then, I understood. I got it. Listen, we have to look at ourselves and take action for ourselves. Cosby could talk that talk because he created Fat Albert, he tried to buy NBC, he portrayed a doctor on The Cosby Show, and had all of us wearing Coogee sweaters. You've got to respect him. I believe that Ferguson officer should be punished and serve time. He used excessive force on a human being who was merely a child. He was a baby, man. The boy was walking in the middle of the street when the police supposedly told him to get the F on the sidewalk. If you don't listen to that, after just having pushed a store owner, you're asking for trouble. But you're not asking to be killed. Some of these youth feel hunted and preyed upon, and that's why that officer needs to be punished.
For those of you who may either be too young or those that may not be familiar about the infamous 2004 Bill Cosby pound cake speech, here's what Mr. Cosby said.
And before your mother got off the bus into the house, she knew exactly where you had gone, who had gone into the house. Parents don't know that today. I'm talking about these people who cry when their son is standing there in an orange suit. Where were you when he was 2? Where were you when he was 12? Where were you when he was 18? And how come you don't know he had a pistol? These are not political criminals. These are people going around stealing Coca-Cola. People getting shot in the back of the head over a piece of pound cake. And then we all run out and we're outraged. Oh, the cop shouldn't have shot him. What the hell was he doing with the pound cake in his hand? Brown versus the Board of Education is no longer the white person's problem. We've got to take the neighborhood back.
Pharrell's remarks about Michael Brown drew intense criticism because describing Brown's behavior at the convenience store video as bullyish behavior appeared to echo narratives often used to justify police violence against Black victims. At a moment when communities were grieving and pushing for national recognition of systemic brutality against unarmed Black people, many felt Pharrell's wording shifted attention away from the disproportionate use of force and toward Brown's alleged conduct, something law enforcement and certain media outlets had already used to frame the killing as warranted. By invoking Bill Cosby's speech, it led to Pharrell positioning Brown's death within a respectability politics framework that places the burden of violence on the victim rather than the systems that enacted. Although Pharrell also stated that the officer should be punished for excessive force, a point that added more nuance to his stance, the initial bullyish comment remained deeply unsettling for many people who felt it reinforced harmful narratives at a critical moment in the nation where the conversation should have been on race and policing. More recently, Pharrell and Chad Hugo entered a legal dispute regarding the trademark rights to the Neptunes. The trademark dispute between Pharrell and Chad added another unexpected layer to the public's perception of Pharrell's business practices. In this case, Hugo's legal team alleged that Pharrell attempted to register the trademark for the Neptunes under his own company without obtaining the required joint authorization, despite both men being equal partners in the legendary production duo. Pharrell's representatives characterized the attempt as an unintentional oversight, but the filing still raised questions about how such an error could occur in a partnership spanning decades. Although the matter was technically administrative and did not escalate into a major public feud, it contributed to a growing impression that Pharrell's behind-the-scenes decisions sometimes contradict the collaborative, community-focused image he presents publicly. In a statement from Chad's lawyer, he said, throughout their over 30-year history, Hugo and Williams agreed to and in fact have divided all assets. By ignoring and excluding Hugo from the any and all applications filed by applicant for the mark the Neptunes, applicant has committed fraud in securing the trademarks and acted in bad faith. When asked by the outlet if the former collaborators are currently on speaking terms, Williams said they are not. Pharrell said, no, but I love him and I will always wish him the absolute best, and I'm very grateful for our time together. In 2024, Pharrell drew attention for comments criticizing celebrity involvement in politics. When asked by The Hollywood Reporter if he would allow either of the political parties to use his music in their campaign trail, Pharrell said, I don't do politics. In fact, I get annoyed sometimes when I see celebrities trying to tell you who to vote for. There are celebrities that I respect that have an opinion, but not all of them. I'm one of them people who says, what the heck, shut up, nobody asked you. When people get out there and get self-righteous and they roll up their sleeves and ish, and they're out there walking around with a placard, shut up. So no, I would rather stay out the way, and obviously I'm going to vote how I'm going to vote. I care about my people and I care about the country, but I feel there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'm really about the action. Pharrell's 2024 comments were widely viewed as problematic because they appeared to undermine the value of public advocacy while ignoring his own history of public involvement. We all quite literally remember his involvement with Diddy's Vote or Die Citizen Change initiative. By saying he gets annoyed when celebrities tell people who to vote for and adding, "Shut up, nobody asked you," Pharrell came across as dismissive of the role influential figures often play in raising awareness about social issues, especially issues affecting marginalized communities who rely on visibility to shift public opinion. Now in 2025, Pharrell's most recent public statements have renewed these discussions. At his 5th annual Black Ambition event, Pharrell said,
current political climate, I'm just saying I don't want to turn anybody off, I hate politics. Like despise them. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side, because I think when you pick a side, you are only, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just gotta say, like, think about it. The wells are drying up, and okay, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there Black people here tonight? And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're Black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're Black or because you're the best? Right, so I think now for me it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be Black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on, and if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that, because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out the room because I'm the best.
Now, journalist Louis Pisano dragged Pharrell in his Substack newsletter in the most epic and deserved way, which I will link in my description and strongly encourage all of you to read. But social media also joined the bandwagon to call out Pharrell for his hypocrisy, contradictions, and continuous pattern of puzzling statements. I saw tweets that said, "That's some wild-ish to say when you're not at LV because you're the best. You're there because you're Pharrell and you pitch yourself as being able to capture Black youth and their dollars." Another person said, "I really dislike people who perform political neutrality in order to avoid having to stand for something. You're not apolitical, you're unprincipled." And another person who said, "This moral superiority complex people get by saying it's all useless is wrong. It's not pancakes versus muffins. It's quite literally life and death and joy or suffering in the hands of politicians, and to have this stance is tone deaf as F." Pharrell's recent comments reveal a broader issue that extends far beyond him. A growing pattern of political detachment among celebrities who have become increasingly insulated from the realities that shape the lives of everyday people. His stance is not unique, but it is particularly striking because of his simultaneous involvement in initiatives like the Black Ambition Project, a program he created in 2020 precisely because Black entrepreneurs are systematically overlooked and underfunded. And that's the irony. If meritocracy truly functioned the way Pharrell suggests, if being the best were enough, then Black ambition would not need to exist in the first place. Its mere existence is evidence that the playing field is not level, that institutional barriers do exist, and that structural inequity cannot be eliminated through that mindset alone. When people describe themselves as apolitical, it often signals a lack of education and engagement with how deeply politics influence daily life. Political systems influences everything, from who receives loans to which communities get funding, protections, or economic opportunities. To dismiss politics as irrelevant is to reveal how secure he must be from their consequences. The idea that both sides are the same reflects a worldview shaped by comfort rather than critical analysis, which is a perspective more aligned with conservative disillusion or capitalist individualism than genuine neutrality. It discourages civic engagement and ultimately benefits the systems that maintain inequality. It is, in many ways, an enemy of progress. Perhaps the most ironic layer in all of this is Pharrell's own professional elevation. As the men's creative director of Louis Vuitton, his appointment was widely understood as a DEI-minded decision, an intentional move to honor Virgil's legacy and maintain cultural visibility through a Black creative figure. Pharrell benefited from the very framework he now critiques, and this disconnect underscores how even well-intentioned public figures can misunderstand the structures that have supported their success. In the end, Pharrell's comments are not just personal opinions, They are a reflection of a larger systemic trend among influential figures who mistake privilege for perspective. His philanthropic work shows that he recognizes inequality does exist. His political statements show that he struggles to understand where it comes from, and that gap between good intentions and incomplete understanding is where the controversy lies. Please let me know in the comments what you all think of Pharrell's comments. Do you understand what he was trying to convey, or do you think that it was tone deaf? Or is this another case of separating the art from the artist? What do you generally think about celebrities who either involve themselves in politics or make an effort to stay away from talking about it due to not being fully informed? How do you view Pharrell today, whether musically, creatively, or simply as a public figure embedded in pop culture history? Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell, and I'll see you next time.